Hello, everyone. My name is Ayo Jackson, and I'm super excited about today's conversation because I have here with me today a very special woman, Miss Priscilla Jaya. Priscilla, welcome. Good morning. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Ayo. It's a pleasure to be with you and with your audience. Thanks for having me.
The honor. So I love to do the acknowledgement of country. And if you don't mind, I'll just start with that. So I acknowledge that I am on the Ghana land in Adelaide, and I acknowledge, pay my respect to the elders of the land, those who have gone past, those who are presently on the land, and those who are emerging. And it's such a honor to be on this land. And yes, it's on this land that this podcast is being held, and I'm so excited to have you with me, the CPR chick. She's a mental health advocate, a practitioner. And before this conversation starts, as a way of like showing how excited I am for having her here with me today, I wanted to share with you a poem I had written. And I don't know if that's a good way to start, but I'll be happy to start because I admire you and you inspire me. That's just the honest truth. So I want
Sure, go ahead.
okay. Priscilla, name etched in strength so deep. Through valleys of pain where shadows creep, you've walked through fire, felt the burn, yet in every scar, a lesson to learn. Purpose driven, steadfast, true woman. Through storms and trials, you always knew that even in the darkness, a light could shine, a spark of hope, eternally divine. Your heart has carried the weight of pain, yet blooms like flowers after the rain, turning trauma into purpose bold, a story of courage, priceless gold. For in your trials, others find grace, a beacon of hope in life's rugged race. Priscilla, your journey inspires the way, a testament of every single day, life of faith. So stand tall, as you always do. The world is brighter because of you. Purpose flows where the pain once stayed. You are a masterpiece of God's hands made.
Oh my God, that is so beautiful, Ayo. Thank you for those words. I don't know if I deserve all of that, but I receive it. Thank you. And you almost made me cry now.
Of course, you deserve it.
No, no, thank you. I appreciate it, Yeah, I really appreciate it. What a way to
Yeah.
start. Thank you.
Yeah. When my father died, it's touched a part of me I didn't think it was going to touch. And I came to realize that when people are alive, we tend to give them the kind of love and attention we think they deserve. But sometimes it happens that it is after their death want to give them more, but they are no longer there to receive it. So why not give the people their flowers while they're still very much alive? When they can feel it and smell it and enjoy it, you
I so
know?
agree with you. Yeah, and I'm sorry
Yeah.
about your dad. Ayo.
Oh no, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, such a day. I'm
And
so
you
blessed.
write
Everyone.
wonderfully. You write so beautiful. Wow. Do you write more poems or are you a
Yeah,
poet?
so as a teenager, I loved to write. Even in my university days, I used to belong to the drama club. I wanted to do theater arts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
my mom was like, no, that's not dignifying enough. What would your dad say? But I'm so grateful for where I am today and for my journey, for my path. And so sometimes when I I just feel the nudge,
Mhm.
I'm able to write. I don't have to struggle. I can't say like it doesn't come for every person I really want to write for. Sometimes it flows. Then sometimes like maybe a writer's block or something. I can't write. So yeah. So to tell you where my heart is, if it flows like that, it shows where my heart is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Wonderful gift that you possess, along with the others that you have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm so grateful to have you on board. Today, we are taking on the concept of mental health, and I know that you are a mom. So this podcast is actually being made on behalf of the World Changer Parenting Institute that I founded, and I just wanted to create a community. Sometimes you're looking for a space where you
Mm-hmm.
can really be yourself. And I found that this is where I
Yeah.
can actually be myself with other
Yeah.
people, with other parents. And such a pleasure that I am like able to serve in this capacity. So we are still growing, but I believe that it's a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Every journey starts with one step, and I can see the work you're doing, Ayo, and I'm really privileged to be here with you. And yeah, however I can add value to your community, parents, and mental health, yeah, there's a lot to talk there.
Yes. And understanding that you have a lived experience, adds to the value that comes with our discussion today. So, as a parent, can you please take us through the journey of your parenting? I would like you to introduce yourself to us and tell us about your parenting journey.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Well, as you introduced me, I'm Priscilla, and I'm also called the CPR chick. And now I've got a new name, which is the human alchemist, because I turn pain into purpose or transform pain into something beautiful. And I believe God has put us on this earth not just to go through pain, but also to make something out of that pain. And that is the story of my life. So I came to Australia in 2004 from India to work as an RN. I'll just give a brief introduction. And it's about 20 years now. I lived in Sydney, and now I've moved to Wagga for the last 16 years. I've been living here, and my daughter was born here in Wagga. I was a RN, intensive care. Never thought I would make my way into mental health. I never thought of that. I thought, okay, I'm going to be an intensive care nurse. I'm going to journey along this path, maybe, climb the ladder, and that would be my life. And nursing was my calling. I enjoyed every bit of it, the challenges, the mental challenge, the physical challenge, the patients, the ventilators, and all of that. It was amazing. And then in 2006, a tragedy struck, and my brother, 20 years of age, he died by suicide. And that was the turning point in my life. It changed the trajectory of my life. My only brother, we have five of us, my only brother, Christian home, and there was no signs. Well, if there was signs, I did not identify any of those signs, and I did not really understand what he was going through. And just like that, one day, my beautiful brother was taken from this earth. And well, that year when I went, 2006, I went home 3 times, and the third time was to bury my brother, because he had always kept asking me, "You're coming home for Christmas. You're coming home for Christmas," on my second visit in 2006. And I said to him, "No, I can't come home for Christmas. You know what? My credit card's maxed out." But, I had to go home that Christmas, and it wasn't to have a good time with my brother. Instead, I was burying my brother. And as I was there, the funeral was going on and my brother was being laid down, this desire was born in me. I thought, first of all, what a waste of life. 20 years, you come on this earth, and just like that, you've gone. What have you done? And what a waste of life. And then as I grew, I understood the meaning of his life. But as we were burying my brother, this desire was born in me. I'm an RN, thousands of miles away from home. I'm jumping on people's chests, reviving them. But my brother, when he was found, he did not receive any CPR. And also, I did not identify those signs and symptoms. And the desire was to empower myself with the skills and knowledge I need so that I can go and save other brothers and sisters. And the way I was going to do it was talking and raising awareness about mental health problems, as well as teaching people CPR. So that was the dream that was born 2006. I think my brother was buried on December 18th. And I came back to Australia and life happened. Fast forward 10 years later, I've got a baby and I've got a home. I moved to regional Australia. The dream was just a dream on the shelf. And going along, I myself started experiencing mental health problems. I was single. I had a child. My marriage broke down, and I had not grieved my brother's loss that well. And It was like the pressure in my pressure cooker was building and building and building. And I didn't realize that I needed help. So one day I'm working and I was pushing myself in the sense because I had physical problems too. I was working overtime. Like some days I'd do 20-hour shifts, some days I'd do 18-hour shifts. And I just push myself when I'm able to, because otherwise I have to take care of my kids. Those days when I could take care of her, I'd be with her. Those days I had care, I would push it to the limit. So that's what I've been doing. Financially, I was impacted. Socially, I had withdrawn from everyone. My physical health was failing, and I did not realize my mental health was failing too. So in 2000, between 16 and 17, I had a breakdown and I was going to kill myself. But thank God for His grace and the still small voice that as I was about to action my thoughts of suicide, I heard this still small voice saying, "Is that it, Priscilla? Is that it? I brought you so far so you could take away your life and just vanish. What about the promise you made to your brother?" And that was like a wake up call. It was 30 seconds, shook me, and I stopped doing what I was doing and took myself to the hospital. And I was eventually diagnosed with PTSD, severe depression, and adjustment disorder. And till now, for me, depression was something in my head. Like I thought I knew about depression. I thought I knew about anxiety. I thought I knew the knowledge. But now I started living it. So I understood what depression really means, what anxiety and PTSD really mean, and what it means to also hear voices, because I started hearing voices like psychosis, and I started hearing music, which was not real. It was only me that could hear it. Now I'm thankful for that experience, but when I was going through it, it wasn't really good. So I was under the care of a psychiatrist, the community mental health system, and there have been times where I was jobless, incomeless, but I went through that. And God is faithful because I'm a person of faith. For me, always my God is my anchor. My faith is my anchor. And through those times, my parenting, I'm honest in saying I failed as a parent. I really failed as a parent. I was alone. And now I look at my baby's pictures from when she was 2 years old, when she was 4 years of age, when she was 5 years of age. And I think, I wish I could have done something different. I wish I could have been present more. I wish I loved her a little more. I wish I enjoyed those moments a little more. But that's life. That is life. I love my daughter a lot. And here I am. I hope one day both her and I will look back and count our blessings and our lessons that we learned through our journey. Yeah. I have one daughter. She's 15 now. I think that was a
Yes.
big introduction.
When I first heard that story of your brothers, I broke down. I was because I've not heard anything like it before. Uh so I felt that it must really have been hard. It must not have been funny, the journey through. So I'm not surprised to hear that maybe years later, it kind of like brought out some things that affected your mental health and coupled with other things that were happening in your life. And I understand what you mean when you say, oh, looking back at the childhood pictures of your daughter, I always say there is no room for regrets. There is just, lessons that we need to all look back and learn from. And I know that you all give so much already. And what we have to look back with is continuous appreciation of all the journey. I would say you did the best. I think you must have done the best at that time with resources you had available to you. And so we need to always consider the subject of failure as parents and put ourselves in context. And just like I know you're a resilient woman and you already know that failure is not who you are. I'm just emphasizing that we need to be a bit more compassionate towards ourselves. Always speak with parents and say, please reframe that language of saying, oh, I failed at a certain time in my parenting. I think, yeah, we're owning up to some of the mistakes we made and all of that. But me, I feel that defining it as failure is not being compassionate to ourselves. Because if you put yourself in context, what you were going through, you worked in the capacity and with the resources that you have. And I think you did an amazing job. You are still doing an amazing job. You are still a fabulous mom for her. In fact, I saw a picture of her. She's joined the Navy, right?
She's an army cadet. She's a
Yeah,
cadet.
that is
Yeah, and she's
amazing. So we are proud of you. I'm sure she is so proud of you. You inspire her to, I'm sure she can recollect a few things, from the past. And that resilience is all that matters. You have been a resilient mom. Yes.
yeah, I agree with you, Ayo. And it's okay to admit, yes, I failed. Yes, I could have done better, but not to
Mm,
be stuck in the failure. For me,
mm,
as I reflect, I look at the lessons and I look at the blessings. Yes, there were times I could have done, like, for example, I'll give you, I was so sick. I couldn't get out of bed in the mornings, and my baby had to wake me up and say, "Mommy, I'm hungry. Can you feed me?" I couldn't drag myself out. Yes, I was struggling. Yes, I was single. I understand the circumstances, but then the basic needs, Maslow's law of hierarchy, food, shelter, safety, and I wasn't able to fully be there for her. So I think, okay, I wish I was healthy. I wish I could have done better. I wish I could have made her childhood a little more memorable. Yes, it is memorable, a little more, like all other kids, all other parents. And I look at my past, I look at those days with Ruhi and I alone as a mom. And when I look, I also see the good times. Like, she has seen her mom stand strong. She has seen mommy love through it. She has seen mommy provide through it. And it is my reflection looking at it. Days when we didn't have a shower, I didn't have the strength to clean her. There were
yeah,
days, like, I can count, I think it was a week sometimes. And there were days my kitchen sink would be full of dishes and they'd be lying there and there'd be like this. It's gross, but this has been my journey. It would be
yeah, yeah,
covered with black fungus because I had no strength, I had no drive, I had no capacity to get up and be the mum that I had to
yeah,
be. But I look
yeah.
back with not regret, with a reflection of failing forward. We learn from our
Yeah.
failures. Yes, I'm self-compassionate, and as parents, we've got to be kind to ourselves, because if you are not kind to yourself and we start beating ourselves on the mistakes and the failures we've made and not learning from the lessons, then it goes in vain. Those lessons go in vain. That failure was in vain. It's not about being a victim always. It's about looking at the lessons and then going forward and saying, okay, next time, how can I do better? If I come to a point where I'm unable to take care of her, what could I put in place? What strategies should I be putting in? So that is how I look at it.
I love that perspective, so powerful. You did mention that you reflect, and what would you say you could have done better?
The one thing I could have done is opened my doors and allowed people to come in and help me. It took me a long time. I would clean my house for the cleaner to come and clean it. That's how bad it used to be. And I was ashamed of letting someone into my house. I wish I reached out to women who could understand me, but I was isolated. With mental health problems, that is the one thing that happens. We start isolating ourselves. We start putting a barrier between ourselves and the world, because now nobody understands you, because now your house is a mess. What would they think about you? Or what would they say about you? And there's so much of stigma around mental health problems, and the world judges you and they look down on you, like as if mental health is something out of 40, whereas it is your body, it is your brain that is impacted. There is not enough of awareness. And with people who deal with mental health problems, and as a mom, I had a self stigma as well as the stigma from outside and the judgment from outside, and especially coming from a PALD background in Australia, my community perceived mental health differently. Mental health problems were not seen as it's just a physical thing. And I withdrew from everyone. Even the friendships I had, I withdrew from them. I shut my doors. And the one thing I could have done better is reached out. I isolated myself from the church, from the friends, the few friends I had. I just closed myself off. Yeah, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had received.
Yeah, I think that's why we're having this conversation to talk about how the stigma around mental health issues affect every one of us, because there are people that genuinely would have loved to come, help you out, serve you in whatever way you needed, you
Yeah.
know, whose presence would have made a difference and, empowered you to stand up and heal maybe faster or something. So even in my community, I as a social worker, I've gone through training and I understand that this part of the world has moved past, the stage where mental health was considered as maybe a spiritual issue, because back in my home country, that was also one of the things we had as issues. People are becoming more and more aware today compared to maybe 10 years ago. However, the stigma is still there. I can't wake up today and just inform my family that I'm feeling anxious, I'm going through anxiety, or I'm feeling depressed, and maybe I have a clinical diagnosis. I am afraid that I won't be understood. Maybe I would also be considered a witch. Oh, the stigma. How do you think the society needs to respond?
Yeah. The only way stigma can be broken is through education, is through talking, making conversations about mental health normal. Let's say I am dealing with some mental health issues. The more I close myself and the more I don't speak about it, the more people won't understand. Like when you break your arm, you go to the doctor, you do an x-ray, and then you find out, okay, the arm's broken, let's get help. It's the same with mental health. We've got to understand also, because the word mental it's got negative connotation. Although God has made us as mental beings, we have the cognition, we have thinking, we have intelligence, we have judgment capacities. Man is different. He's created a little differently than the animals, and we are endowed with that mental capacity. It is part of our being. And once we understand mental health is also brain health, mental health can also be brought on by things that are going in my body as well as things that are going around me, and normalizing it, talking about it, going to doing courses, and at least sitting down and reading about it. Because now in the age of internet, everything is at your dispense. You can just go and Google and you can find out. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize it, and the more we compare, something wrong with me mentally is just equivalent to something being broken in the body, like you have a tummy pain, you have a headache. It's just that. And when we come to that understanding, and when we understand that, okay, it is part of my body, it is part of my being, and letting others know that it is part of your being, something isn't just right. We all are born with emotions. God has given us the gift of emotion: sad, mad, angry, fear, disgust, irritation. We're all born with it. And when you feel that, it's not that you're mentally abnormal or something is wrong mentally, but when you sit with that sadness for a long time, when you sit with that fear for a long time and it starts impacting your life, is when it is becoming a problem. So when we simplify it, rather than talking clinically and saying, oh, this is what is going on, simplify things and understand that it's part of my being. Break it down. I was feeling sad, but the sadness now is becoming so overpowering that I can't get out of bed, can't get up and cook for my child. The thoughts are going on in a loop, and I'm judging myself. I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling worthless. And that's how you go down the rabbit hole with depression and anxiety too. It's being fearful of stepping out of the house during COVID. COVID anxiety disorder is one of the disorders now. We were afraid to touch people. We were afraid to come together. And that fear, when it starts impacting you in a way that you don't want to get out of the house, and it's just overpowering your daily activities, that's when it's becoming abnormal. So when we look at it, it's a continuum. Our emotions go up and down, up and down. And when we stay stuck, it's okay for a week, it's okay for 2 weeks, but 2 months and 3 months down the line, when the intensity of your emotional changes are becoming so strong, it's impacting your daily activities and your behavior. That's when we say, okay, it is a problem now. Let's get help. So we talk more about it, we break it down to people, and it's amazing when I go do trainings with organizations and in the community, and when we break it down, they're like, that's what it is. And then that's how you break the stigma. That's how you normalize it. Yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is very important because what you don't know, you cannot address. What people don't know, they cannot address. They cannot walk around it. If
Mhm.
they understand that, oh, this doesn't write you off, because it seems like, when people hear about mental health, they are afraid to even acknowledge the word, because I don't know, that there's just a fear around it. There's a stigma that has been attached to it, and like I've rightly said, if we keep on talking, sometimes it's as simple as listening to a podcast. It's as simple as reading a book, and you get to know more and more. And awareness, knowledge is power. We can't be arrogant in our ignorance, and it's going to rob us of enhancing our overall well-being, because one aspect of our life can suffer and impact the other areas of our lives. And there are actually many factors that impact and lead to mental health issues. And we live in a society, the world is getting more and more chaotic. We have wars going on, there is economic crisis. How do you think, like, the state of the society is really impacting on people's mental health?
Starts with the home.
Hmm.
Before we go out and look at what's happening in the world, what's my atmosphere in the house? And as parents, what are we creating for our children? Because we have physical causes, we have psychological causes, and also we have social causes, risk factors, not causes, risk factors for anyone to develop a mental health problem. So looking at, okay, what's my atmosphere at home like? Is there constant fightings? Is there constant belittling? Is there constant criticizing? Is there abuse in the homes? Or is the child being abused at school? Is there bullying? Or is my child very shy and sensitive? Because very shy and sensitive children, some of them go on and develop anxiety disorder. So just to look at, okay, what kind of an atmosphere can I create in my home so this environment can be good for my child? It always comes down to our surrounding. Yeah. Because as a trauma therapist, I work with a lot of kids as well as parents. And when they refer a child to me, I only work with teenagers about 15 years of age. When they refer them to me, I worked with a 13-year-old as well, but I don't just do therapy with the child. We work with the parent, one of the parent, because help the parent, half of the child's problems will be gone. They'll show a significant change, and they'll be thriving. And then we work with the child. And society, yeah, there is going to be wars. We've had wars all through. And there is going to be recession. We've had that happen all through. How do we prepare our kids to go out in the world? How strong are they? How resilient are they? And what have we sown into our children? For me, that is the most important thing, because come what may, they're going to be strong. Yes, there are things that can happen outside that can affect them, wars and famine, and all of those factors will affect them too. But it all comes down to what the environment is like. Is there toxicity? Is your pond clean? Is what we talk about. What is your environment, your pond like? Is the pond clean? If your pond is clean, you're going to be good. If you're resilient and strong, then when we put you in that situation where there is troubles, we're still going to be standing, or our way of dealing with it is going to be different. And if sadness or fear comes in, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed or they failed. It's okay. There is hope. Now there is treatment, and now there are places you can go to, people you can see to help you through that. Society does impact. What's happening around us does impact. Anything negative can impact us, and I wouldn't take away the impact. Some of the people I worked with, they're good, fine, everything's okay. But what impacted them was, I was left alone at school. My mom didn't come to pick me. I felt rejected by my dad. But they're rich, they're happy, and they've had a good childhood. In other areas, it wasn't abusive, but there have been times when they were silenced, or when they were said, okay, you are fat, or those words that were said, or why don't you work hard to get good grades? And that impacted them, and it has, as they grew, it has sat with them where it has formed their negative unconscious beliefs, and that has been running them as they grow up. So it's very difficult to just pinpoint and say this is what has caused it, this is the only risk factor, because it is a culmination of all of those risk factors. But it comes down to the home, it comes down to how you were raised, or what kind of a home you grew up in.
Yeah, indeed, there are so many things that intersect, from personal issues, parenting styles, to how the child is receiving what is happening at home and processing that. And I think it's really important. I've always believed that the home is the bedrock of the society, and without us fixing our homes, fixing what is happening, and that's where we as parents we play a vital role. We will continue to have issues within the society escalating, and we want to raise children who do not have to recover from their childhood, because one of the biggest issues causing the suffering of humans and the world at large today is more or less like issues that parenting may have been able to fix if we actually did our homework properly. So thank you for sharing that. You said you work with young people, you work with teenagers, and you have been able to highlight some of the risk factors that contribute to mental health issues amongst teenagers. I would like you to still touch more on that. Maybe.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I can't pinpoint one cause, and it would be wrong for me to just say, oh, the parenting wasn't that great, and that's why this child developed these issues. It is a combination of factors where parents were very strict or they weren't loved. Well, one person I will talk about, they were in their 1920s. Yeah, this girl was abused by her dad, then abused by her stepdad. The house was set on fire with her inside the house, and the abuse that continued from early teens wasn't recognized, and it went unnoticed. And then at school, there was bullying, and with friends, there was bullying. So, with this, when I always go back with the modality that I work with, we always go back to, okay, what were the unconscious negative core beliefs that were running your life? So it was, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough, I don't matter. So when I don't matter, I'm not worthy enough, it is okay for people to run over me, to walk all over me, and it is okay for me to be treated like crap. Yeah. And with this person, we worked on those core beliefs, and we worked on the trauma that she had gone through, and she healed. I didn't have to work with her parents because she didn't live with her parents, but part of it was how she was raised and what had happened in her childhood. And then this girl was so impacted, she would have panic attacks. She wouldn't be able to go out for a walk. She was scared, she was fearful, she'd be shaking and she'd get hives all over her body. Constant panic attacks. Her boyfriend had to go with her everywhere. You know, she couldn't go unaccompanied. She was living a life that wasn't a fulfilling life. Yeah.
I feel that sometimes we may never know how the little things impact our children and the people around us. And what we see is the aftermath, which turns out to probably be an illness or a mental health issue. And what you have just said now reiterates that we have to be able to pay attention, to be so sensitive to the initial signs and symptoms that show that something is not right. And if a child is speaking, is trying to advocate for themselves about it, we need to learn to listen, and listen even for the unspoken words. You know, sometimes when people are traumatized, they may not have the right words, and especially as young people, they may not have the right words to explain or express. All they know is they're in pain, all they know is it didn't feel good, and they just feel the harm. And yes, so it's really important for us to stay in tune.
Let me just touch on the early onset when we see those problems in children as young as 12, 13, 15. That's when depression, anxiety starts, mostly anxiety for kids. What example I gave you was the worst case scenario, but then be as simple as a very unhealthy atmosphere at home, or being bullied outside in school, those may have caused children to retreat, that child to retreat and be at home and say, I don't want to go to school, or then depend on other things that can give them relief. We see a lot of self-harm and cutting and burning in kids, especially in the schools. And when you said, how can we get to them before it becomes worse, would be identifying those symptoms. What's going on with my child? Are they spending a lot of time alone? Because again, it comes down to the first and the foremost important sign, which is isolation. They're retreating. Yes, it is part of teenage to retreat and say, okay, I'm my own person. I want my own time and stay in the bedroom. But how long are they staying in the bedroom? How long are they on their devices? What are they doing? Are they eating well? Are they sleeping well? Are they spending time with friends and family? Is there that normal childhood activities like playing, interacting with others, speaking with everyone, or being there, eating 3 meals or 2 meals? Or have you seen a difference, or have you seen a change? Either they're sleeping too much or eating too much. That is part of teenage. Again, eating too much, sleeping too much, or too little is part of teenage. But again, look at the whole clinical picture. Are they retreating? Are they enjoying the things that they enjoyed before? Like if they were playing any games, or if they love doing something, have they stopped doing that? Are they not engaging with those activities? What else is going on? Just talk to them, and also not nagging them, because you will be shut off. Don't ask the question starting with why. Just ask them open-ended questions. How was your day? What are you doing? Would you like to come and sit outside? Because I don't let my child be in her room. I know she learns, she does distance schooling, but even with that, after her classes are over, it is mandatory that she comes out and sits with us. We eat together at the table. We pray before we go to bed. So we've got some rules in the house, and she's not alone on her devices. And even with the device, schoolwork and maybe an hour or two of something else. An hour or two is a little too much, but she might get some grace time. And just putting those strategies in place with love and grace would help kids a lot. And then when you see those signs and symptoms, get help at the earliest. Don't wait for it to get worse. Because I've seen some of the kids, yes, parents have been clueless about what's going on. And some of the kids have gone to the extent of cutting themselves and being suicidal. That's the extreme. But before that, what are those signs? Again, because I teach mental health first aid, I recommend parents to go and learn youth mental health first aid. It's a great training, 2 days. Go do that and understand what those signs and symptoms of anxiety are, depression are. What are those changes that you see in a child? Are they engaging well? Are they doing those activities, like I said before? Are they eating well? Talk to them and not nag them or ask those why questions. I'm repeating myself, I know that, but it's important.
Yeah.
And
Very important.
GP is your first port of call. Go to your GP. If you identify that something is not right, it's okay to go to your GP and have a chat, even if things are right. They can put things in place and you can monitor them. We have a lot of resources online, and I'm a Beyond Blue ambassador, so I'm very much aligned with Beyond Blue. They have beautiful resources. Even Black Dog Institute, they have beautiful resources too. So go there and get some. This is for Australians, and even people overseas can access these websites and learn about those childhood conditions. Like anxiety affects a lot of kids. Learn more about it. Self-harm affects a lot of kids. Learn more about it. Addiction to video games and being on the devices affects a lot of kids. And these are all distractions and coping mechanism because they don't find relief in other things. Like, for example, this child has started self-harming. It is not because they like doing it. It's their only way of expressing and finding some relief. And instead of judging it as right and wrong, work with them to identify the cause or what emotion they're battling. And it starts with being concerned and saying, hey, I love you, I care for you, and I've noticed some things have changed and this is not normal. Let's have a chat.
So insightful. I think I would also put a link to all the resources we've just mentioned in the description box so parents can have access to it. And yes, we cannot shy away from seeking knowledge. Knowledge should be our best friend at this stage. In times like this, we need to seek knowledge and find what are the information that would empower me to help my child better. Where can I find this information? And take action. It's not enough to know. So, what are those other challenges that you feel that parents need to overcome to enhance their mental health? Like maybe pay more attention to self care.
Self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And as moms and dads, as parents, what we do is we put ourselves at the bottom of the list. Yeah, we're like, is my child taken care of? Is the lunch prepared? Have I done the laundry or whatever? It's always about them. And as moms, we are more worried about the house, the home, the husbands, and our partners and our children, whereas we go at the bottom of the list. And the same thing with dads. Dads are like, okay, go, 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 go. If they're the main income earners, it's like they put that as priority. And maybe they're working too hard. Maybe they're not looking after themselves. Maybe they're putting their needs to the bottom of the list because everyone else comes on top. Yeah. But I can't look after my husband and my daughter if I don't take care of myself. I can't pour from an empty cup. So, whatever it is you're dealing with, address that first. Whatever your needs are, fill in your cup first so you can be there for your child. Yeah. If there is resentment, bitterness, and fear in my cup, I'm going to be pouring that into my child, into my family. So, I've got to I've got to deal with those things before. And if I'm tired, and I say this to my husband a lot. I say, when we give, 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 because we are givers, what happens is, I know we say there is no expectation of something coming back to us in return, but at some point, because I've given and given and given, there's going to be that resentment building inside of me saying, oh, I always give. Why don't I receive? Why is it always me who's doing this? Whether you like it or not, it's going to come up. And when we start giving, even though we're tired, when we start doing things, even though we're feeling that we need to press pause as a dad or as a mom, it's going to be tiring. And now you're doing it not with love, you're doing it as a duty, or you're doing it because I want to tick the list, and everything else starts becoming a burden. And that's how resentment, bitterness, and fights and conflict happen. But when we address things at the beginning, when we press pause and pour into ourselves and address either the physical needs or our emotional needs, we are equipped to pour into our kids, to pour into our spouses better. We are equipped to look after them better. And that's why I say self-care is not a luxury. It is a necessity. And it is not that in a week I'm going to take one day as my self-care day. Yes, it is your day off. It is not your self-care day. Your self-care day has to be every day. So it starts with, am I eating healthy? Am I getting enough sleep? What kind of things am I listening to? What kind of things am I reading? For me, that is the most important thing. What I see, what I listen, who are the people I gather around myself, who are my best friends, what's my inner circle, what kind of toxicity is surrounding me in my food, in my drink, in my reading, in my watching. And that's my definition of self-care. And yes, there will be days when you will soak yourself in the bath and put the candles on and lay with bath bombs or Epsom salt. That's fine. You deserve that too. You deserve that holiday too. But let not self-care wait till you do those extreme things. Let it be your everyday. And it starts with what you put inside your body and in your mind. And that is my definition of self-care. What do you do? Do you go for a walk? Do you garden? Do you read something? It can be whatever it is. Just take time for yourself.
Absolute wisdom. So that's the things you say that stood out for me. Talking about self care is not luxury; it's a necessity. So paying attention to the everyday activities, the little practices we do, why we wake up, what are the things we eat, how much sleep are we getting, do we still drink good quantity of water, do you go for a walk, do you just look through the flowers and admire them for no reason, all those add up to enhancing your soul. Then you also mentioned the people around us, the people that surround us, and this emphasizes the importance of nurturing our social circle from our immediate family to our friends and not isolating ourselves. Sometimes we're giving a lot to others, just also being able to ask. Sometimes people don't give maybe because they feel we are sufficient and we are okay. But if we can just ask and say, oh, I need you to help me out with this while I take care of that, or I just need to go for a massage, whatever you need. The quality of the relationship in the home, I think the most important is even the quality of the relationship with our spouse, because I feel it's kind of impacts on every other relationship around us. And that's why I don't usually separate, renting for marriage. I feel like if we enhancing our marriage and looking for ways to have better relationship with our spouse, and it just as a natural way of rubbing off on our relationship with our children. Nothing more for me to add. You've said a lot already. So I just wanted to say shout out to your husband and your daughter. They have they're supporting you, and this just to tell us that indeed, no matter what stage of the journey we are on, we need those people. And do you think that friends within the home or social circles for children is important for their mental well-being?
Absolutely, Ayo. And you spoke about relationship. It's one of the pillar of health. There are four pillars: biological, relational, psychological, and spiritual, and all of them need to be healthy. And so I'm very particular. I only speak from my experience with my child. I'm very particular about the friends she makes. It's not that I say don't be friend with that person. Be kind to everyone, be loving to everyone. But who you allow in your circle is very important. Are they putting you down? Are they gossiping about you? Especially with teenage years, kids can get a little, especially girls can get a little, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just tell her, I need you to know your friends are the ones who will root for you, who will cheer you, and who will pour goodness into you. Yes, it's okay to have fights. It's okay to have disagreements. But then are they sticking with you through thick and thin? And again, there are friends who are close and there are friends who are in the outer circle. And with my daughter, she's got best friends, and I'm friends with their parents. And for me, that is important. And I come from, like you can tell, I'm Indian, and my views are a little different when it comes to sleepover and going to friends' places. I don't allow sleepovers except in extreme cases. She only had a sleepover when she was 13, I believe, and before that she wasn't allowed. And I can count. She's had like 2 sleepovers. That's all at her friends' places. For me, why do you have to sleep? I mean, people can come down on me. That's fine, but this is my opinion or my values and my culture. I don't allow my daughter to go and have sleepovers. You can hang out with them, you can do. And she's had friends one time in this house because I want to build that trust. I want to know that my daughter is taken care of, my daughter is safe. And I don't know what happens in other homes. Likewise, people don't know what happens in my home. So for me, I'm very guarded. People say I'm a tiger mom, or that is who I am, because I want to safeguard my daughter. She's my responsibility. Her future is my responsibility. I will lay a foundation for her, train up a child in the ways you want them to go, and then they will abide with it for rest of their lives. And that has been my training back home for me. And because I'm rooted on a strong foundation, I have a strong foundation, and I may have wavered a little bit, but I've come back to it. My values are strong. So that is what I want for my child. As parents, we've got to be very careful about who those friends are. Do you know them? Do you know their families? And not everyone in the family, at least mom and dad and the siblings, do you know them? Is it safe for your child to go? And also, there is no outings for me because with my child, this year she started studying from home, and we take her for the school days. We go to Sydney, we have school days, and then we come back. And then if she wants to hang out with her friends, she does hang out. It's not like it's banned. She gets to hang out, but then there is a limit. Discipline is the key word there, with the routine at home, the activities they can do, the people they can allow in their lives. And I need to know. If I don't know the parent, if I don't know everything about that friend, I'm not going to let you hang out with them. Those are my values, and those are the rules for me. I don't know whether everyone applies it, and if everyone will agree with it, that's okay. If you don't agree, that's fine. But this is what I set for my child, and I need to know the parents. And Ruhi's friends and her friends' moms are my friends, because we have a day where in a month or two, like we catch up, we go have a cup of tea, hang out together, we go to their homes, and there's only the close circle has only 3 other friends. That's it. You don't need any more. There can be more people where you just have like a party or hang out or a bigger celebration, but your close circle is very important. And I know her close circle, I know the parents, and they know me, and they've been my support system, because those school moms have been my great support system when I needed. When I was sick, they pick up and drop Ruhi, they bring food, and it's been really amazing. So that's my understanding of bettering your kids' friends.
Yes, yes. And that way you're in tune with the discussions they're having. You don't have to ask. Sometimes you just sit in the car and you overhear some things that they talk about. You're able to trail their thought line and how they think. And if you need to make some corrections, you know where to chip it in.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good.
And also celebrating those friendships, and getting
Yeah.
them to hang out together, and you showing that you care for them and their friendship, and you're here to nurture those relationships and giving them enough freedom to do the things that are in line with the boundaries you have put. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no boyfriends till she's 30. I'm just kidding.
Beautiful. But she's got some crushes.
Oh, we talk about that too. And as a teen, it's important to allow your teenager to have those feelings. It is normal. There have been instances where it is normal. Yes, you're hitting puberty, you're having all those changes, your desires change, and you look at someone and you're like, oh, I like him, or it's okay. It is okay to have crushes, and it's part of growing. And being open and honest, and that's what it has been with my daughter. It's being open and honest, and again saying clearly, crush can be a crush. It does not have to go into something more, because I was brought up in such a way, until you finish uni, your own main goal is study and aim for what you want to be as your career, what you want to choose. That's what your goal is. You don't have to get distracted with boys. Yes, there's going to be crushes. That's fine. You'll have friends. That's fine. But nothing more than that. Those are my boundaries. It's okay to have a crush.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, what would you consider to be your biggest challenge raising a teenager?
It was a big thing for me when she started talking back, because now I know everything. Mommy doesn't know that much. Till they reach their teen years, they're depending on you, and you're their everything. Mommy knows this and mommy knows that. But then suddenly this child is changing, and then I know everything. You don't know what to do, mom. I know everything. That's the attitude. Gently nudge is one of the big things. Yeah, that's been my biggest problem. And also, I remarried. I found a beautiful man who loves me and loves my child, and he honors God. And for me, it's a different person now. I've lived with my daughter from the time she was born to now, all her life. She's only known me,
Yeah.
and she's not shared me with another person. I don't even have another child. She's my only child. And now I'm married. Well, she brought us together. She says that I'm married to Nick, and Nick comes and is with us. It's the atmosphere changes a little bit, and that was also one of the challenges. Like, his way of parenting is different, my way of parenting is different, and then she only knows my way of parenting, and then there's going to be conflict. So how do we resolve it? How do we come to an understanding of parenting together now? Him as the bonus dad and me as her mom, and now her having to deal with two figures of authority at home. It was challenging in the beginning, and we're growing through it. And it's been a learning curve for Nick as well as for me. And for me also, to you can correct your child, and that's okay. I can correct her harshly, and that is okay with me. But when somebody else does it, I'm like, why did you do that? So, and that also understanding that it's okay for corrections to happen. And I've had a few chats with my mother-in-law about it, and then she's like, you got to allow him to step in as well. But that was challenging for her too, the learning curve. And that's what happens when families grow, and then the scenario with our family is a little different to a traditional family. And also, we come from different cultures. She was born in Australia. I come from the Indian background. The way she perceives things are different, and Nick is coming from a different background and his way of dealing is different. So learning all of that, and even as husband and wife in a family, you're two different people, and your children, you're raising your children from different mindsets. And how do we now keep them as the focus and raise them together in love and respect? How do we give them the freedom that they need as per age? What can I allow and not allow? And being on the same page. Because when parents are on different pages, kids are very clever. They can use one parent against the other and vice versa. It can happen. And then there's going to be conflict. There's going to be fights. That's where I want parents to be on the same page. Agree to parent your child on the same footing. And for us, being again people of faith, for us everything stems from the Word of God, and that's how we engage. I'm not perfect. Ruhi is not perfect. Nick is not perfect, but we do things that are right according to us and according to the Word of God. What is right, and that is the foundation that we are putting. And the differences, yes, we will fight it out. Again, that is another thing. Children, they say, oh, don't argue in front of your kids and don't fight in front of your kids. It's not a fight. Well, there can be fights too. But then kids also need to see how you disagree, how you solve that conflict. It's okay to rock the boat, because if you don't rock the boat, then you won't learn how to steady it in a storm. So it's okay to rock your boat. It's okay for parents to have those disagreements. And I'm not saying loud, big arguments, but then they need to see how you engage when you don't agree on things, how you talk it out. I've heard some kids say, oh, my mom and dad never argued in front of us. They never fought in front of us. They're saints for doing that. But for me, it's not. I want her to be part of. I mean, if she's overhears or sees, that's okay. Just say we had a disagreement and we argued, and that's what people do. And I come from a loud family, and I tend to, when I'm upset, I tend to just vent it out. But it's not like it's abusive kind of an atmosphere. So as parents, we've got to be mindful of that too. Normalize having disagreements, and it's okay. But then how do you come together after you have resolved it? Do you come together with respect and honor and love and kindness? And who apologizes first? And they learn. Kids learn, and
Yes.
that's their foundation.
Yeah. Those are how children get to know about conflict resolution, problem solving, emotional intelligence. It all begins from our interactions at home. And I really like the fact that you touched on the place of spirituality. Do you think there is a connection between our spiritual well-being and mental well-being?
There is, again, 4 pillars of health. Spirituality is one of the main pillars too. It's like 4 legs of a table. You knock off one, it's wonky. And that's how it is with our whole being. We have spiritual well-being. And for me, I'm a Christian, and that is my foundation. And when I have recognized when I was going through deep depression and when I was fearful, I doubted God. I didn't think that He was enough for me to take me through. But then when I rediscovered my faith, my well being started improving. And it is not that you will not be depressed if you are spiritual. Charles Spurgeon, one of the greatest, he was depressed. Elijah in the Bible, he wanted to give up and die. It doesn't say anything about your spirituality when you are affected with a mental illness. Taking care of your spiritual health is part of your well-being. It doesn't mean, oh, you've gone far from God. It doesn't mean God has forsaken you. It doesn't mean that. It just means that, okay, you need to look after, pour into your spiritual cup, pour into it. Yeah. Because
Wow.
just as spiritual, there is also physical deficits in our body that may cause you feeling depressed. What's going on with your blood work? What are you deficient in? Are you getting enough sunlight? Are you having enough people surrounding you? So it's a coming together of all of those things, like the spiritual, the relationships, the social, and physical. And that is what makes us. We are not just one aspect of well-being. It's not just mental, or it's not just spiritual. Yeah. I hope that
Yeah.
answers. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. The scripture says that I wish above all things that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul is interested in our total well-being. It's such a beautiful conversation. I don't even feel like ending it. But I think like what will be your message as we round up? What will be your key lesson that you want parents to hold on to this podcast?
One big thing I want everyone to know is there is hope. Okay, just because you've been impacted with any kind of problem, be it well-being, mental or physical or spiritual, there is hope. There is always hope. So do not be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family members, those who care for you. Those, family members, not everyone is on the same page. There is hope for you to get better. There are places you can go, people you can see to get better. It's not like, oh, it is incurable and you have to live with this or be stigmatized for the rest of your life. There is hope. Reach out for help. Don't be sitting in that little pond by yourself. Reach out for help is what I would encourage parents to do, and that's my message is hope.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure discussing with you, Priscilla. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for your time. And I trust that God would perfect all that concerns you. And yeah, a lot of parents who would want to connect with you, would you please let them know how they can contact you? Where can they reach you? Or
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Facebook. My page is called Priscilla Jaya, the Human Alchemist and the CPR Chick. So you can connect with me there, or you can go to my website, priscillajaya.com, my name and .com. And there's also a free book if you want to download. I've got a new book out. So yeah,
yeah. Congratulations on your
thank
website,
you.
on your new book. Yeah,
Thank you.
I am very optimistic. I know that there's so much more coming in goodies for you in the nearest future. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Yeah.
And I hope you don't mind if I keep in touch.
Yeah, sure. Please stay in touch, and it's been a pleasure. And I hope your audience gets the most value out of this conversation. And it hasn't been clinical and academic, it's been my lived experience, my story. So take what you can, let go of what you don't want.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I just mentioned now that if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so. It's free, and on Spotify, you can listen to the podcast. And I hope that I hear from you about how much this has been a blessing to you. Thank you, and bye.